Hey YouTube, welcome to my next episode on algebraic methods. Today we're going to look at factor theorem and how it builds on our last episode on algebraic division. So let's get right to it. So I can write f of x equals x squared minus 4x plus 3 in the form of f of x equals x minus 1, x minus 3. What is the mathematical name for the brackets and what is the value of f of 1 and f of 3? So just like you guys all know that 6 is 2 times 3, we call 2 and 3 the factors. If you can rewrite the quadratic as the product of two expressions, then these two are also factors. Yeah, so x minus 1 and x minus 3 are the factors of this quadratic. Now, what happens when we sub in 1? We would get 1 minus 1, 1 minus 3. But because one of these brackets is 0, they both multiply to give 0. And what about 3? Well, you'd get 3 minus 1 times 3 minus 3. Well, the second bracket is 0 now, so we get 0. So what do we call 1 and 3? Well, 1 and 3 are known as the roots, meaning they're the values that make the quadratic 0. Yeah, it's where it crosses the x-axis. Now, what the factor theorem basically says, and I'm going to say it more formally in the next slide, is if you know the factors, you know the roots. So if x minus 1 is a factor, then 1 is a root. If you know the roots, 1 is a root, then x minus 1 would be the factor. Yeah, and that's basically factor theorem in a nutshell. So here's what factor theorem states. If f of x is a polynomial, then if f of a is 0, meaning you know a number which if you substitute it in gives you 0, then x minus a is then a factor. Conversely, if x minus a is a factor, then f of a would be 0. Yeah, just like what we showed in the previous slide. So let's just apply it. It's quite a simple concept, and it's one you're used to, you've just never formalized it really. So show that 3x minus 2 is a factor of this quartic, and hence write this quartic in the form 3x minus 2 times f of x, where f of x is a cubic. That makes sense. This is a linear term. If this is a cubic, they would multiply to give you a quartic. Now, how do we show something is a factor? Well, we write down what the root is, we substitute that in and show that it equals 0. Yeah, this is to do with the second point. If you know the root, then if you know the factor, then you know the root, and the root would make it equal 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let g of x equal the quartic. It just makes subbing in numbers and the notation much easier to do. Now, if 3x minus 2 is a factor, then the root would be 2/3. So you'd have 6 times 2/3 to the power of 4, minus 4. And now we just need to double check that with the calculator. So I'm going to show you guys a cool trick to how to do this quick. So first thing you do is you type in 2/3 in your calculator. Now I'm going to store this. The calculator has a store button. Can you see this STO? It means store. You press store. And any of the buttons on the row above it. You can see A, B, C, D, E, F. You're just going to click the one with the A on it. So wherever I see x there, I'm going to replace it with a. So can you see you have 6x to the power of 4. I'm going to do 6, then alpha a to the power of 4. Then minus 4a to the power of 3. And there you go, it gives you 0. So we just write down equals 0. I tick it and then I say, therefore, 3x minus 2 is a factor. Just write down a little statement. The next thing we need to do is we need to do the factorizing. We need to find what this f of x cubic is. The best way to do this in this case is by long division. The reason I favor long division here rather than inspection in the previous episode is because we're dealing with a quartic now. So you definitely want to do long division here. It just makes life a bit easier. So how does it work? 3x times what is 6x to the 4? 3 times 2 is 6. X times what is x to the 4? Is x cubed. So multiply, so you get 6x to the 4, 2x cubed times minus 2 is minus 4x cubed. Minus them. Well, these all cancel. Bring down the rest of the terms, 3x squared plus 4x minus 4. 3x times what is 3x squared? Well, that's just x. And then we get 3x squared minus 2x. Okay, take them away. This cancels. 4x minus 2x is 6x. Bring down the minus 4. 3x times what is 6x? Well, that's 2. So we get 6x minus 4 after the multiplication, and we get 0. So because it equals 0 there, we know we've done it right. So our solution is that f of x is 2x cubed plus x plus 2. So the form, in terms of factorizing, would be 3x minus 2 times 2x cubed plus x plus 2. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. If you're new here and you want more maths content, then please consider subscribing. If you're learning something, then hit that like button and comment down below to let me know what you want to learn next. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. X minus 2 and x plus 1 are both factors of this cubic in terms of a and b. Find the values of a and b and hence solve that cubic. Use the method of inspection here to find the last factor. So if x minus 2 is a factor, then 2 is a root. And with x plus 1, the root would be minus 1. The first thing I'm going to do is let f of x equal this cubic. It makes the notation much easier. So we're going to do f of 2. When we sub in 2, we're going to get 24 plus 2 squared times a is 4a plus 2b plus 10. I remember the root always makes it equal 0. So move the 24 and 10 to the other side. We get 4a plus 2b. 24 plus 10 is 34. Move it to the other side, minus 34. Divide by 2. And that's our first equation. What about f of minus 1? When you sub in minus 1, you get minus 1 cubed times 3 is minus 3. Plus minus 1 squared times a. That would just be a. B times minus 1 is minus b. Plus 10 is 0. So we're left with a minus b equals, then minus 3 plus 10 is 7. Move it to the other side is minus 7. All right, let's add the two equations. So we have 3a is minus 17, minus 7 would be minus 24. So a is minus 8. And then I guess the easier one is to maybe sub into the second one. So you have minus 8 minus b is minus 7. So you would get b is minus 1. So our cubic f of x is 3x cubed minus 8x squared minus x plus 10. Use the method of inspection to find the last factor. So we want to solve this equals 0. Now, it's quite simple actually. We know the first brackets of how this factorizes. We know it has x minus 2, it has x plus 1. What does the last bracket have to be? Well, all the x's have to multiply to give 3x squared, 3x cubed. Well, x times x is x squared, so the last bracket's going to have to be 3x. The last numbers have to multiply to give 10. We have minus 2 times 1 is minus 2. Minus 2 times what gives you 10? That's minus 5. And therefore, to solve that, therefore, x is 2, x is minus 1, and the last factor, x is 5/3. A cubic polynomial is defined as f of x equals x cubed plus x squared minus 10x plus 8. By considering the factors of 8 or otherwise, express f of x as the product of 3 linear factors. So these questions, they don't ask them too much anymore because they know the calculator does everything. If they do ask this, what you want to do is this, is you just go on your polynomial solver, you're selecting degree 3, we have x cubed, so 1, 1, minus 10, and 8. Press equals, and you already have minus 4, 2. Now, the way I do it is I'm a bit cheeky here. I do the most obvious answer as a guess. So 2 would be more likely to be guessed than minus 4, right? Oh, maybe 1. Maybe 1's the easiest one to go for. So what you do is you learn that 1 is a root. So you do this. You say, oh, I got lucky. 1 is a factor of 8. I'm going to try f of 1. What is f of 1? You have 1 cubed plus 1 squared minus 10 times 1 plus 8. So you have 1 plus 1 minus 10 plus 8. That is 0. So we can say 1 is a root Therefore, x minus 1 is a factor. And then once we've done that, we can go ahead and factorize. Now I'm going to do this via the method of inspection. So x minus 1 times something is going to give us our cubic. You could do long division as well if you want, guys. That's okay. Now we know this has to be x squared, yeah, because x times x squared gives you x cubed. Minus 1 times what gives you plus 8? That would be minus 8. All we need to know is what that middle term is, ax. So you start to expand and you compare the coefficients. So x times ax would be ax squared. And then minus x squared. Those would be the only x squared terms. Now that should equal just x squared here. Then you look at the coefficients. So this is just a minus 1 is 1. So a is 2. The quadratic is then x squared plus 2x minus 8, which we can then factorize to give you x. It's going to have to be 4 and 2, plus 4 minus 2, and that's done. Then part B, sketch the graph of f of x, indicating any intersections with the coordinate axes. So in this case, we're going to have our roots 1, minus 4, and 2. That's just a sketch. It doesn't have to be too accurate. Now the other thing is you always look at the last number to determine where it crosses the y-axis. So it crosses the y-axis at 8. Now don't think too much about where the turning points will be. They're not interested in that. So it's going to look maybe something like this. Yeah. Sketch any the graph indicating any intersections with the coordinate axes, and that is it. So guys, this is the factor theorem. If you learned anything, please hit that like button, and if you want more maths content, make sure you're subscribed, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Peace.